If it's a Wednesday, it means Kurt Helin is here, pro basketball talk at NBCSports.com, to talk about all things hoops, including my Knicks, who are a disaster. The Warriors have their own problems to deal with after a Jimmy Butler ACL tear ends his season, and ends effectively the Warriors' season, it feels like. All sorts of notes from the Eastern and Western Conference as we go through things with him. There are NFL items to get to on this day that we'll also touch on here in just a couple of moments. Also, the Baseball Hall of Fame announcing 2 new members to its class in 2026. We will get to that too. But we start things out as we always do with the big story. And the big story today is the New York Giants essentially neutering in public. We had a public neutering. You've heard of like public hangings? This was a public neutering of Giants general manager Joe Schoen on Tuesday, with the Giants introducing John Harbaugh as their new head coach. And look, there's no other way to get around this. There's no other way to describe it. When you have a contract that's basically held up by the fact that John Harbaugh wants as much autonomy as possible, and that the only person he is reporting to at the end of the day is the Maras, Chris Mara and ownership with the Giants. When you have a structure that is set up that way, you have cut out the middleman if you're John Harbaugh. And by the way, all the power to him. If that's something he wanted, if that's something that mattered to him, I don't know if it works out well for the Giants in the long run. I don't know if this is something that, behooves the organization, so to speak. But at the end of the day, if this is something he needed in order to make this deal a reality, and he was able to get it, all the power to him. How it works out in the end, we'll wait and see. But if you're Joe Schoen, how do you go to work every day? Knowing that your head coach is going to be the one that gets the final say and has the last word on basically everything of import in that organization. And that you're just basically the guy saying, hey, I'm running to Starbucks to grab a drink. Anybody want anything? That's essentially what it's come down to now for Joe Schoen, who's been in the league for a zillion years. And he and Harbaugh and the Maras, they can all say whatever they want to downplay this idea that he has been neutered, made impotent by this move. But that's what's happened. And there's no way to get around it. Will he have input? Sure. The same way, Sam has input every day into the content of this show and, weighs in with some thoughts. But at the end of the day, I'm the one with the final say. That's John Harbaugh, not the general manager. And that is problematic if you're Joe Schoen, because you'll get all the blame if things don't go well the next couple of years. You'll be the one whose head is on the chopping block, but the guy who's really making all the decisions is John Harbaugh in concert with the Maras. We'll see how it all plays out in New York. I mean, look, they went and got the best available head coach. And I don't even think it's arguable. As much as I'll make an argument for guys like Mike McCarthy and all of that, he got the best available head coach. And now we'll see where the chips fall. Big story number 1. Big story number 2. We always love the debate of who's a Hall of Famer, who isn't a Hall of Famer, why are they a Hall of Famer, why does this person vote this way, why does this person vote that way, why does somebody think Omar Vizquel is a Hall of Famer, why does one person not believe Derek Jeter wasn't a Hall of Famer? We have these debates every year. It's one of the fun things we get to do in sports, for all the serious stuff that we sometimes are forced to talk about, and for all the things in the world that can drag you down. The bad news that's out there. One of the fun debates we get to have every year is about the Hall of Fame. So when the Hall of Fame made its announcements on Tuesday night, and it was revealed that Andruw Jones, former Atlanta Brave great, one of the all-time great defensive outfielders, and a guy who put up some prolific offensive numbers for the first half of his career. When it was announced he was getting in, there were a lot of people that are happy, and I'm okay with Andruw Jones being in the Hall of Fame. I should be enthusiastic if you're going into the Hall of Fame. I don't think there should be any debate for guys going into the Hall of Fame. That's what makes it the Hall of Fame. But Andruw Jones was one of those borderline guys, and he gets in. Carlos Beltran getting in, I have a problem with. And I have a problem with it because there's blatant hypocrisy from the sacred cows, and these Baseball Writers Association of America guys. Not all of them, by the way. I am friends with some of them. They come on the show. This is not me painting. It is me painting with a broad brush. Not to say that every Hall of Fame voter gets it wrong or takes themselves too seriously. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is this. There are some that will be holier than thou and refuse to put in anybody even remotely associated or heavily associated with the PED era of Major League Baseball. Something that is part of the history of baseball, whether you like it or not. There are guys that, to their dying day, will never allow for an A-Rod, a Manny Ramirez, even an Andy Pettitte, to get into the Hall of Fame because of their association with performance-enhancing drugs. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, etc. But then those same guys voted for Carlos Beltran, who was involved in a high-level cheating scandal that ultimately led, not saying it's the reason they won the World Series, but it was certainly part of the story, the fabric of an Astros team that won a World Series. And Carlos Beltran was part of that. And he's going into the Hall of Fame. And I have a problem with the hypocrisy involved in that. I'm not even necessarily sure I have a problem with him being in, as much as I have a problem with the fact that he's in and the guys in the PED era will likely never get it. And it's why you have to kind of take it all with a grain of salt when it comes to the Hall of Fame. And you got to do your homework and understand that there are guys that belong in that may never get in. You can go to the Pete Rose stuff all day. But that there is a blatant hypocrisy here when it comes to the way these writers handle their responsibility of deciding who and who doesn't get into the Hall of Fame. Carlos Beltran is in, and so is Andruw Jones. Congratulations to them both. We're coming back. Welcome back to the show. Coming up in 10 minutes, Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Can anything fix my Knicks? I see people rumbling about Giannis potentially coming to the Knicks. Could it happen? Do we want it to happen? Lakers got a good win against the Nuggets last night after Jamal Murray torched him in the first half. Anyway, we'll get to all that coming up. Sam Yarnell joins us for the first time on the show today. Have the Giants neutered general manager Joe Schoen? Whenever you're trying to downplay, now this comes from my background in politics and having worked in news for a number of years, having worked for a politician in communications. Whenever you're, as an organization, a group, a company, trying to downplay something, it means it's being played up for a reason. You're trying to do this combative sort of response. And the Giants are doing that when it comes to Joe Schoen, because you have John Harbaugh, who has become the new head coach of the Giants and basically is reporting to the Maras and the ownership group and not to Joe Schoen, which is to say Joe Schoen has been neutered. Now, they could say all they want that this isn't what's going on, Sam, but as I pointed out in the big story, every single thing about this John Harbaugh hire points to the fact that Joe Schoen is being skipped over when it comes to, and that ultimate decision-making process is going to be on John Harbaugh and ownership, and Joe Schoen's just going to kind of be the middleman saying, hey, I'm going to, go to the cafeteria. Does anybody want anything?
Yeah. I mean, so this is obviously, you're seeing around the league in other places why this is never good to have these kind of relationships born. And Jason, you got the sense that there was going to be this kind of unbalance of power when the Harbaugh thing dragged its feet, when it took him like a week longer, literally a week from when he was first reported to have agreed to the job to actually sign on the dotted line. And it just goes back to the Maras are one of these families in football, not unlike the Johnsons or the Joneses of the world, where they interject in the inner workings of the football operations of their NFL team just a tad too much. And now you've given them a lifeline to the head coach rather than having to go through the general manager. It's a dangerous power balance that we see not work out very frequently in the National Football League. And yeah, if I were a Giants fan, I would be worried about this, so-called neutering of Joe Schoen. Not to say that he's not going to be there and still have smart football input, because I do, like a lot of other people in the NFL, still believe he is a smart football guy, like the Maras clearly still believe to an extent at least, or else they would have fired him by now. But I do think that you're starting down a very dangerous path by having the head coach and owner have direct report rather than having the GM be able to interject. It is not healthy signs of football in the East Meadowlands now.
I will tell you where it becomes a problem. If John Harbaugh does a bad job picking the groceries for the meal that's going to be cooked, then it becomes a problem. I mean, at the end of the day now, this is John Harbaugh's team and John Harbaugh's organization as far as every facet of how it gets built, from nutrition to training to video to scouting. It's all on John Harbaugh now. And again, more times than not, these situations, Bill Belichick, when you start handing over GM responsibilities and that kind of power to head coaches, even if they have been successful, more times than not, it doesn't work out well quickly.
I would say that the Bill Belichick actually in New England is the only example of it ever working out half decently, and it still didn't work out great once they didn't have the greatest quarterback of all time on the roster. So yeah, exactly, Jason. You're exactly right. This kind of unilateral power balance in the National Football League, it does not ever work out well. The only thing that can keep it from anything is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Do we believe Jackson Dart is that?
Well, TBD, obviously, on that. At best, TBD. All right. Baker Mayfield has a message for new Falcons head coach Kevin Stefanski because, and this started when Orlando Bedwetter. Anyway, Orlando of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution put up a pretty harsh, I think, assessment of, sort of Baker Mayfield's time and others in Cleveland with the Browns, almost as a defense for why Kevin Stefanski will be successful potentially in Atlanta as opposed to his time in Cleveland. That tweet, here it is. Orlando Ledbetter says Falcons Kevin Stefanski had a dumpster fire at quarterback in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson failed, which started a chain reaction to 11 other starters. QB Shedeur Sanders closed out last season with 7 starts. Okay. To which Baker Mayfield responded, "Failed is quite the reach, pal. Still waiting on a text/call from him after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach." It'll be fun watching. And Baker Mayfield's always looking for motivation. He just got some, courtesy of Orlando Ledbetter and Kevin Stefanski coming to the Atlanta Falcons. So, Sam Yarnell, Baker Mayfield justified in feeling the way he does?
I mean, it's just what he does, right? Like, like you could justify it by saying Baker Mayfield did it. That's the justification. It's just his bit now. And I shouldn't say bit. It's not a bit, because I think Baker truly does believe it. And you've seen it does make him better to an extent. Like, it makes him go a little bit more all out. So do what you got to do as a professional athlete to perform at your absolute peak. I guess it's justified by saying that, it's what he does. It's who Baker Mayfield is. He's shown us this. Why would we expect anything else?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Right, it's not malicious. It's not like he's saying,
No.
it's not like he's doxing Kevin Stefanski or
No.
saying, exposing him for something. It's just how he plays the game.
And I think the word bit is probably unfair because what Stephen A. Smith does is a bit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
What Skip Bayless does is a bit. This is genuinely Baker Mayfield and who he is. So that's why I think you're right to correct yourself when you say not a bit, but just sort of who he is. So I don't have an issue with it at all. And anything that creates more drama in that NFC South, we are all for it. Bravo. Kurt Helin. There's lots of drama in the NBA right now as we approach the All-Star break. Will Giannis be moved? Will he won't? Will he not? Will he won't? Will he not? English, second language. We're coming back. And we roll along on this Wednesday with some NBA talk. Kurt Helin is here. Pro basketball talk at NBCSports.com is his jam. Every time I look at you, I see myself like 5 years from now.
I don't know that I. Okay.
Like
I'm
five,
not sure.
I see myself.
I say anything bad there, that doesn't really make sense.
I see myself 5 years from now. Like eventually, I'm gonna bick this. It's all gonna be gone, and I'm just gonna give up. I'm gonna give up the fight, like LeBron is kind of doing right now with his hair.
Yeah.
He almost went all the way.
I gave up the fight in, I don't know, when I was in my 30s. Like it was an early end of the fight.
I'm 48, and I still haven't given up the fight. My husband and I, every night, he's like, let's do the hair replacement, like hair treatment, like thinking of different things. Then I thought about just wearing a different wig every day. Like, and then I could just change my style every day. I thought about doing something like that. No?
I
feel like Elton John.
You think a little short pink wig would work on him? It might.
think it would.
Like blue one day, pink the next. Yeah.
What's going to work for the Warriors at this point? I mean, look, for 3 years I've been screaming, blow it up, blow it up. And now they have every motivation in the world to do so, although they don't sound like they're going to when you hear management, basically saying, and Mike Dunleavy saying, nah, you know what? We're gonna hang on to Jimmy Butler and that massive contract. And maybe he'll be back at some point next year in the final year of his deal. And it'll all just kumbaya, it'll work itself out.
They will never trade Steph Curry, and they are going to ride this out until the end. There is no reset going to happen. He will retire. I'm always hesitant to say this because there's a part of me that still believes he might spend his last season in Charlotte where his dad played and is going to get his number retired and where he grew up, but almost certainly will end his career with the Warriors, and they will push to try to win as much as they can until they can. But this not only kills this season, it makes life Jimmy Butler makes $56.8 million next year. You can't really trade him. And so you're going to try to go into this offseason and make whatever moves you're going to make to try to build this thing up. That, by the way, may not mean a Jonathan Kuminga trade at this point. They just might ride Kuminga into this summer because, sorry, Bucks fans, if Giannis Antetokounmpo becomes available, that's the guy they're going to chase. And they will want Kuminga as a young player with potential and a $24.5 million or whatever it is salary to be part of that package.
Stephen Curry is for all the things we talk about with different stars in the league speaking out on their situations and their teams and what's going on, he is very quiet when it comes to those sorts of things. He comports himself in a certain way. Do you think the patience runs thin and at some point he starts speaking out?
I think he's so involved in the decisions they make that no. I think, I don't think they're doing things without his I want to say approval. Look, at the end of the day, they don't want him to leave. He still fills the building. The Chase Center was built because of Steph Curry. Even though Joe Lacob would like to tell you it was his brilliant management. It's like Steph Curry is the identity of that franchise. And with that, they will do whatever makes him happy. If he wants to try to compete, they will find ways to try to do that. And frankly, they were starting to look like a team. They'd won 12 of 16. Their offense was really top 5 in that stretch. They were clicking, and you're like, here it comes. They are the team you don't want to see in the first round. Right? they're kind of dangerous. They're not going to win it all, but they could upset somebody. Like, they're not that anymore. They're a play-in team probably that is easily dispatched.
Does the end, and this is obviously looking a little far ahead into the future for this, Kurt, but having the end of Steph Curry's career on my mind, it made me wonder, obviously it'll be like the end of Draymond when that all dies, but is that the end for Steve Kerr? Is Steve Kerr going to call it quits after this iteration of the Warriors, or is he going to stay on?
My guess is that he moves on. Now, this is what Greg Popovich always said about Tim Duncan, and that didn't exactly happen, right? Like, it's one thing to say when this ends, I'm going to walk away and be happy, but I think Kerr, even more than Pop, would do that, especially because he would move into whether it's with the Warriors or someone else, we'll call it the R.I.P. Jerry West, the Jerry West role, right? I'm just going to be the owner whisperer and consultant, and I'm going to get paid a boatload of money to tell the owner, hey, that's a good idea, that's a bad idea. Like, that kind of consultant. And that's going to be it, man. Like, he's going to step into that role somewhere.
Good win for the Lakers last night. You know, we like to crush them, and I know that it's no Nikola Jokic for the Nuggets, but I mean, Jamal Murray destroyed them in the first half. It was like he broke the Lakers, it felt like. That thing was going on a trajectory, hits a half-court shot, he has 27 in the first half. They shut him down to nothing in the second half. And it just goes to show what a little effort can do on defense for the Lakers last night, who really played well in Denver.
They're a good team, and it's one of those things where we keep coming back to it's the thing. It's like we keep coming back to it. They're 11 games above 500. They've outplayed their point differential by more than any other team in the league. That record's a little inflated, but the bottom line is that is a good team that just isn't quite built yet for how you need to truly contend with Luka on the roster.
Yeah,
but they're moving that direction, and with LeBron playing the way he is. You know, they will get Austin Reeves back. Speaking of the team you don't want to see in the first round, they're going to get in as the 5-6 seed, whatever it is. That's a tough out for some. Like, right, they're going to face a good team.
Matchup predicated.
Difficult. Like,
their success will be completely matchup predicated. The Lakers.
Yes, exactly. They have very distinct defensive things you can exploit, and some teams can do that, but. Luka and LeBron are just going to be tough when the game slows down. It's going to be tough to stop them. They're going to put up points.
Let me get one last one in on the West, and then we'll get to the East in the next segment. Great win for the Rockets. I mean, they're down 16. They come from behind, beat the Spurs last night in the final minute of this segment. Talk about what that does for them. That win does for them. Does it sort of unlock them a little bit here before the All-Star break?
It does when Reed Shepard can give them what he gave them off the bench.
21 right? Off the bench last night.
21 off the bench and the shooting. When you've watched them lately, and the reason I said in my power rankings this week that they don't feel like the contenders anymore, they'd run into the wall where they just missed Fred VanVleet. They missed his shooting. They missed the organization that glue guy kind of brings and that point guard, floor general point guard brings. When they get it, like they did in this, especially the second half of last night, but with Shepard and everything else, they're as good as anyone. The talent is as good as anyone. They just haven't been consistent, and I still think they're a top 5 team in the league. Yeah. Like, I still think they're really, really dangerous. And they got that Kevin Durant guy. Sometimes it feels like they lean on him too much, but he's bleeping Kevin Durant.
Kurt Helin hanging out with us. We got him for one more segment. Don't go anywhere. One more segment with my man Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. All right, so the Knicks are a dumpster fire right now, getting booed off the floor on MLK Day against a Mavericks team without Anthony Davis. You get the players-only team meeting. Number of times that helps anything. Where do you go right now? I mean, fans are screaming. Tom Thibodeau's cashing checks somewhere right now, laughing.
Yeah.
Talk me off the ledge right now on the Knicks, because it's not even fun to watch them right now.
No, it's hard to watch them. Look, the turnaround in that team meeting, Jalen Brunson said, "Hey, This has got to come from inside the building, inside the players, inside the locker room, not the coaches. This is us. We've got to figure this out. Which said to me a couple things. A, they still haven't fully bought into Mike Brown. They are not giving, say what you want about Thibodeau. You knew what this team was. It had an identity. Jason, what's the Knicks' identity? It's
Jalen Brunson. It's Jalen Brunson when he's healthy.
That's exactly. And it's not enough that Towns has never looked completely comfortable. The real problem of late, where they can turn this thing around, and Josh Hart should help a little with that with his return, but hasn't yet. It's their defense. Their transition defense in particular is wretched. They got 27 fast break points in the first half.
Yeah, I was going to say, but their transition offense isn't good either. They're not getting points on the break the other way.
They haven't bought in, like I said, there's no identity. I don't know who this team is. I don't know what they want to be right now. And that's a serious problem halfway into the season. That is a serious problem halfway into the season. It's not easy. Look, they can be much better than this, but there's not some easy fix. And there's not some easy fix at the trade deadline. If you can plug in another player, but if you don't have a system, if you don't have everybody buying in and pulling the rope the same direction, it doesn't matter.
What has to happen for Mike Brown to be a one and done, though, Kurt? Do they have to finish as a 5 seed, go out in the first round? What is that?
Look, they went to the conference finals for the first time in 25 years last year and fired the coach. That's part of the problem in New York, or challenge in New York. The bar was set here, man. The bar is finals. James Dolan was on the radio at the start of this month saying we should absolutely make the finals. We should win it, right? And
saying we don't need to make any major moves.
Yeah, no, and I think I genuinely believe that's what they believe in house, that this team really is this good. They just can't get them to execute at the level that need. But I'm not sure that's the case. I'm not sure they don't need a second, more shot creation or whatever. And they'll see what they can get, more depth. Look, the front, Mike Brown's taken a brunt of this. Look, what did they do with the front office this summer? Hey, how's Jordan Clarkson, Yabusele? They're trying to trade Yabusele. They're looking right now for
what are they going to get for Yabusele? He's absolutely useless.
Well, everybody likes those big bags of Doritos.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's about it. I
was hoping you were going to make me feel better, and you're not.
It'll be better, but it's bad. It's bad, and I don't know how they fix it. Honestly.
I was hoping you were going to make me. Nothing about this first 3.5 minutes of this conversation has made me feel better at all.
Sorry.
Kurt, down I-95 in Philadelphia, things aren't all that much better, though. This is a team that has not been doing well. But a weird, minuscule thing I did want to ask you about. I saw Jared McCain got sent to the G League last week. What was your takeaway from seeing that?
I don't know that he's fully back from the injury. He has not progressed at the level they need to. And the problem is he's got to earn those minutes now, because Tyrese Maxey is deservedly an all-star starter and when I was putting together my MVP list for, mid-season MVP list, he was in my serious consideration for should he be in the top 5 kind of season. And then you got VJ Edgecombe, who stepped into that role and has been fantastic and is in the Rookie of the Year mix and is maybe please have him do the dunk contest. You've got that now. You've got to get in there. You've got to earn the minutes around those guys, and he hasn't. And part of that's the injury. Part of that is he didn't step forward this year, and I think he just needs some run. And that's one of those situations where sending a player to the G League not only shakes him a little bit and gets him woken up, but just gets him on a court in a situation he should be able to thrive and get some confidence back.
From 3 to 8. It's the Knicks with 18 losses and the Heat at 21 losses at the 8 spot. Is there somebody you expect to see jump out of that pack in the second half, Kurt?
I keep wanting to say Cleveland.
That's what I was going to say.
They have the talent and they show you moments, but then there's the ML. Look, they beat Philadelphia twice last week, and one of those games, which I watched, the first one, that was as good as they played and looked all season. They were fantastic. But you see them on MLK Day. Now, granted, they're going up against the juggernaut that is Oklahoma City, who is trying to reestablish itself. And their only loss in the last 2 weeks is because their only loss in the last week or so is only because the nightlife in Miami remains undefeated. The gap was so obvious between where they are and where Miami is, or Cleveland is. I don't know how they get there. And then granted, that's the best team in the league. But if that's the measuring bar, if you want to be a finals team, you've got to be closer to that. And I expect so much more out of them. I expected so much more, and they're not getting it from Darius Garland, who's out again. They're not getting it from Evan Mobley didn't take a step forward. And outside of Donovan Mitchell, who's been spectacular, that team's been okay.
Just wait until they trade for LeBron. Kurt, I have 30 seconds. Is
Honestly,
the All-Star game format going to work this year? You talked about the starters. We saw they were released this week. The size matchup is wild. 30 seconds. Is the format going to work?
I work for NBC. I don't know if I have that. I think I have the NBC logo on. So, yes, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be, we'll see. Look, here's the thing. I think the international players actually do care. Will that fire up the Americans to care? I mean, it's going to be relative, but if they care, if guys actually care, then it's at least entertaining.
Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, and a company man. Thank you, sir. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. I knew we'd talk a little baseball today because of the Hall of Fame stuff, and we knew that announcement was coming yesterday. I didn't realize we'd wind up getting a whole segment on it. Thank you to the New York Mets. We'll do that coming up here as well. Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown will welcome 2 new inductees this summer. I'm actually hoping to go. We're trying to do some programming stuff around the Hall of Fame this year, and hopefully we'll have news on that coming up in the spring. But in the meantime, we've got 2 new guys going in. Andruw Jones, who is sort of a borderline guy. That, you know, a lot of people, there was a lot of politicking going on for Andruw Jones, who was one of the best defensive outfielders of his generation, quite frankly. And then, you know, somebody who put up some really good offensive numbers in Atlanta before tailing off in the final years of his career. And Carlos Beltran gets in, and that's the one I have a bit more of a problem with, Sam. But Beltran gets in despite being part of that whole sign stealing scandal with the Houston Astros. So he gets in. So baseball has set its moral line in the sand. The Hall of Fame voters, the Hall of Fame vote, even though I don't even watch baseball anymore. Hall of Fame voters said, sign stealing scandal that leads to a World Series win, fine. But if you played in the PED era where everybody was sticking needles in their arms and rubbing cream all over parts of their body, we're not letting you get in. So, Sam, what did you make of the Andruw Jones, Carlos Beltran inductions, now that you know what I think?
It led me to a question, actually. What happens if nobody gets elected in a year?
Then nobody goes in. But then they also have the Veterans Committee. Do they still have all of the
pomp and circle? Like, do they still have the ceremony and stuff?
Well, because of the Veterans Committee or whatever that Legends Committee.
Always put people
somebody
in.
Always,
interesting.
Somebody always gets in. And plus they have the Ford Frick Award where one of the broadcasters gets in.
So they'll always... Interesting. Yeah. That's just something I was thinking about ever since last night. But anyway, let's not give short shrift to how good Andruw Jones was. He is a top 10 defender of all time.
Yeah.
This is a guy who, I mean, maybe I'm part of the politicking for him to get in, but this is a guy who should have gotten in. You saw it by the way that the ballots were trajecting for him over the years, but this is a guy who deserved to be a Hall of Famer. I was surprised by the Carlos Beltran thing, not because I don't believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, not because, you know, I feel particularly one way or the other, just because, you know, it's another example of, you know, as Jason alluded to, the very incompetent baseball writers creating a double standard for their own selves. And I wish, and I know we've had Hall of Fame voters on here before. I would love to have one on right now to ask them to their face, why create a double standard, right? And why are we not considering cheating in 2017 the way we're considering cheating in 2005 or 2006? It doesn't make an iota of sense to me. And it is another example of the Hall of Fame voting contingent in Major League Baseball being completely beyond their means. They don't understand the power that they hold, and even less so do they understand the precedent that their own former selves set. So again, I am beyond perplexed. It is cool though. Carlos Beltran is going to be the first plaque in Cooperstown history to have both Houston parentheses National League and Houston parentheses American League on it.
Andy Pettit, by the way, an interesting one to note, got 48.5% of the vote on the ballot in his 8th year. I think he has 1 year left. Why I mention that is he was 27.9% the year before. That's a big jump. I wonder if the politicking you're going to see from this year to next is for Andy Pettit. To me, he's a Hall of Famer. Go and look what he did from a postseason standpoint. He's one of the greatest postseason pitchers of all time. I'm also of the belief that Bernie Williams belongs in very much for that same reason. So just a quick thought on that.
Yeah, I think
quick.
that the thing that stands apart, if I'm not mistaken, I think the thing that's holding Andy Pettit back is the biogenesis thing.
Yes.
I believe he was mentioned in the biogenesis scandal.
Oh no, not even. He got busted. He got busted. If I'm not mistaken.
It's the whole it's the bias against biogenesis.
Yes, it is. The Mets make a deal, and I love it. Sign me up for Luis Robert. I think he is going to be a star in New York. He brings the flash. He brings the ability to do it in the field and at the plate. I have always believed change of scenery was going to change the results you get from him on the field, because we saw it in his rookie year. He has the ability. And I believe him with the Mets, with Juan Soto as a mentor, I think Luis Robert, and they gave up nothing to get him with Luis Angel Acuna and this kid Paulie, this pitcher Paulie. I love this move, Sam. Real quick in the last minute here.
Yeah. I mean, this trade is flyer central,
yes,
right? It's
absolutely.
The Mets taking a flyer on Luis Robert, but quite frankly, I like the move more for the White Sox in getting two players.
It's good for them too.
The Luis Robert situation, I personally don't think is one that he was a guy who needed to go to a small market to have success.
I disagree.
Going to Queens, gosh, I almost said Brooklyn. Going to Queens, that's going to be very tough for a player who we saw struggle when the lights got bright. Now he's going to the
bright
place where the
lights.
lights
Nobody cared about the White Sox. Nobody cared about the White Sox.
His rookie year, they did though.
His rookie year was good. He was good his rookie year. I'm telling you, I think I love this move. I am in love. I was gaga over the moon last night. And by the way, the reason to subscribe to our YouTube channel, we had a SportsWrap short on it last night. I love the move for Luis Robert. Now look, we may go back and replay this in August of this year when he's hitting 190 and getting booed off the field. That remains to be seen. Odds and ends are next. Time to close out this Wednesday edition of the show. But before we do, a couple of reminders for you. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to the audio-only version of this show, Monday through Friday. It's available early in the afternoon, and it makes a great companion while you're driving, on the treadmill, in the shower, sitting in bed, whatever you may be doing. Make sure to check out the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. In addition to that, we have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place for all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. It includes the Monday through Friday TV version of the show, commercial-free, there for you early every afternoon. Pro tip, it's actually available there many times before it's available anywhere on television across our 265 affiliates across the U.S. and Canada. So make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Also there, Sports Wrap Shorts. When news breaks, we're there to help fix it. No, we're there to break it. It's always there, Monday through Friday, weekends too. Sports Wrap Shorts. Quick little hitters on the top stories in sports as soon as they happen. Sports Wrap Shorts available on our YouTube channel, also on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And without any further delay, on this Wednesday, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Sam, why do you have this perplexed look on your face? I call it the Tucker Carlson.
Because, Jason, it's gotten a little bit ridiculous what the NCAA is allowing. And I'm going off script here, and the producers are going to be mad at me, and I don't care. The breaking news coming across my desk that this Charles Bediako guy has been granted his restraining order, and now he's immediately eligible to play for Alabama basketball. Who is Charles Bediako, you may be asking? He's a starter for the Motor City Cruise of the NBA G League. This is now multiple G League players that will be playing in the NCAA. It has gotten crazy who we are letting play college sports at this point. Okay, I'm off my soapbox.
Well, we all know college sports is a mess, so I guess none of that really surprises me.
Ridiculous!
It is redonkulous. Mike McDaniel. People have messaged me and say, why do you always use this image on the screen for Mike McDaniel? You can't see it, Sam, but it's one that is not the most flattering of him. It's because it makes me smile, and some days I just need to smile a little bit because it's so absurd. Mike McDaniel, and everything in life is so absurd that I need something that makes me smile. Mike McDaniel, seen here, is your new offensive coordinator, it appears, for Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers. Here's what I want. I want a reality show of just those two guys working together next season, because that is going to be must-see TV.
Yeah, I mean, I'm scared of them. I'll tell you that much. I'm scared of them. And if Jim Harbaugh is starting to put people around him that I'm sorry. I mean, no, I'm actually not. He's been around for long enough. He can understand this. Jim Harbaugh is putting people around him who are smarter than him, and that is the mark of a really, really good coach. I am officially scared of the Chargers going into next season.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was wondering who was going to be the team to get him. And, you were hoping it was going to be a good team with offensive weapons and the like, because obviously we know what Mike McDaniel could do from an offensive standpoint, and now just give him time to focus solely on that with Sam's favorite quarterback, Justin Herbert. Only good things could happen.
I will say that my favorite quarterback. I do think that Mike McDaniel will bring a lot out of Justin Herbert. I do. But I'll say this. It also, of all the combinations, maybe, probably has the best chance of being a tremendous failure. Like, there is a chance that these guys just don't speak the same language, and this entire franchise is a disaster by week 6. Like, they're averaging 3.5 points a game.
Wouldn't you get that, though? Wouldn't you get that in meetings after? If you're Harbaugh and him and you're meeting up, wouldn't you figure out if the chemistry is there right away? Sometimes it just clicks. Like the first time I met you, I was like, this guy's great. He's going to be wonderful on the show. And it's worked out,
You'd hope.
Yeah, exactly. Tennis, anyone? Carlos Alcaraz, a winner at the Australian Open yesterday. I watched his match. Played okay. Wasn't anything brilliant, but he played okay. Yeah. Have you watched even a second of the Australian Open, Sam Yarnell? Even a second?
Come on.
Not even a second? I can't get you to watch even a second?
No, it was on. So last night, little sneak peek inside my world. Last night, as I was going to have my dinner, it was like the first intermission of the Sabres game. So I went onto my TV, opened up my ESPN app, and there it was, right next to the Sabres game. All of these courts of the Australian Open. So I saw it was going on. That was about as close as I came to watching it before I, watched the Sabres defeat the Nashville Predators.
Okay. Francis Tiafoe won too. I don't know if he's talking to the media these days, but he won. So, there's that. Always rooting for the Americans down under. I'm sure we'll have Patrick McEnroe on next week from Melbourne to tell us what's going on at the Australian Open. I'm not getting him on in week 1 when there's people playing that you won't hear from, 80% of them throughout the tennis season. So, it's going to do it for us. Thanks to Kurt Helin. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. Thanks to folks at home for watching. I'm Jason Page. We'll see you back here on Thursday for an all-new edition of Sports Wrap. Bye-bye. Hi there, I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got SportsWrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.